Hi, everybody. It is Professor Jeff. It is great to see you all again. If you are watching this video, it means that you made it through Unit 1. Congratulations! We are here in Unit 2. So you are watching this week's graded learning activity that focuses on mechanics. Remember, mechanics is one of the three main categories for our learning goals for this semester. And in the first unit, we got to practice some basic verb tense stuff, right? Hopefully, a lot of that was review for all of you. This might be new. It might be something that you heard about in a previous writing class or in a grammar class if you ever took that, or in some of the English language classes that you maybe had back home. But we're going to talk about sentence types in this lesson, okay? And I have a short chapter, not even a chapter, just a few pages from one of my favorite books that can help writers to improve their grammar in lots of different ways. And I'm going to bring that up on the screen for us right now. And the name of this book is called Language Power: Tutorials for Writers. It was written by Professor Dana Ferris, and she's actually a professor at UC Davis. And she's an amazing person, a very, very kind and intelligent person, and a really excellent teacher. So if you or someone in your family is interested in studying at UC Davis, maybe someday you will get to work with Professor Ferris, and you can tell her, "Oh, yeah, I got to practice some of my English by looking at your textbook here, Language Power." So, like I said, I'm only going to show a few pages. I'm going to read them and go through them and explain some of the ideas from the book for us. But if you like this activity, if you like the way that Professor Ferris explains things, I really think it's a great idea. Go online, go on Amazon. You can buy a copy of this book, Language Power, and it is a workbook. And remember, a workbook just means there's things for you to read on your own and then practice on your own. Of course, I'm very happy that you're in our class this semester, and I think it's very important to take class and learn with other people, even when we are online. But it's also good to practice on your own, and workbooks are really great for that. So again, if you like this activity, if you like the way that Professor Ferris explains these things, I really encourage you to remember the cover for this book, remember the title, and remember her name. Okay? So we are going to read just a few pages, as I said, starting on page 53 in Language Power. And again, if you want more information, this is an MLA citation. You'll learn a lot more about this in 315, 325, English 300. You'll learn a lot more about MLA citation, but this is the full publishing information for this textbook and where these few pages come from, okay? So the last thing that I want to say before we get started, and actually I am going to go back into a different page here. You know what, actually I am going to stay on this page. If you go to the assignment, the graded learning activity for this lesson, I did post two other sort of optional YouTube videos. Remember, optional just means you can watch them, you don't have to watch them. But those two videos are about phrases and clauses in English. That's one of them. And the other one is about conjunctions, coordinating conjunctions and subordinating conjunctions. Now, again, you probably studied some of this in a previous writing class or in a class that you took back home. But if you don't know what a conjunction is, I strongly suggest, I really think you should watch that video. It will help explain some of these ideas. But again, I've got to read some of your writing. I got to speak to you in some of our online live class sessions. And I think a lot of you already know what these things are. But if you don't, that's okay. Just take a few minutes, watch those YouTube videos so that you know what I'm talking about and what Professor Ferris is talking about here in the text when she talks about clauses and conjunctions. All right, so let's get started. I'm just going to read through this for us together, and then I'm going to explain an idea if I think it would be helpful to give some more information. So I'm starting right here at recognizing sentence types. So as you can see from the earlier sections in this tutorial, you can put sentences together in different ways using various phrases and clauses. And again, if you don't know what that is, watch the videos I posted. In this final section, we are going to introduce you to the 4 most basic sentence types in English. All right, so type number 1, simple sentence. A simple sentence consists of one independent clause. Consists just mean is made of, right? So a simple sentence consists of one independent clause. The one independent clause of a simple sentence may also include various different phrase types, modifying or giving more information about the main subject and the verb phrases. Then Professor Ferris gives us some example sentences. So, Joe slept. 2 words, full sentence. Grammar is great, right? Joe slept. Subject, verb. And remember, it's a complete idea. It can stand alone. This is a simple sentence. Sentence 2. The cat saw the bird. So cat is the subject. Saw is the verb. Bird is the object, right? It's the thing that the bird saw. Last sentence gets a little more wordy. Some more words in this sentence. So creeping stealthily, the cat came up behind the bird. Stealthily just means quietly, sort of secretly. And this image for this sentence is like, here's the bird, right? And it's looking this way. The cat is coming up very slow, stealthily behind the bird. Only thing to say here is cat is the subject, right? Our noun. Came up is a phrasal verb. So in this case, the verb phrase is 2 words instead of just 1. As Professor Ferris explains, although the first and second sentences look less complicated than the third, they are still simple sentences because they contain 1 verb, right? 1 verb. And remember, if you've ever taken a grammar class, the verb is very, very important. The verb is very, very powerful in terms of making grammar in our sentences, right? So 1 verb, 1 subject, simple sentence. Then we say, here is a more detailed analysis of the 3 simple sentence examples. In each, the subject noun phrase is underlined and the verb phrase is italicized. Italicized means the words that look like this, like they're leaning, right? So in this example, Joe is the noun, the subject, and the noun phrase all together. Slept. Slept is our verb and our verb phrase. Next sentence, the cat saw the bird. Here we have an article, the cat, which is part of the noun phrase, that is the subject, and saw, just 1 word, is the verb phrase, right? So cat is the subject. The cat is the noun phrase. Saw is the verb and the verb phrase. Last sentence, creeping stealthily, the cat, noun phrase, came up, verb phrase, remember both words because it's a phrasal verb, came up behind the bird, right? All 3 of these sentences, simple sentences, 1 subject, 1 verb, independent clause, can stand alone. You got a simple sentence. Our next sentence type, a compound sentence. So a compound sentence has 2 or more independent clauses connected by a coordinating conjunction. And again, I'm just going to pause. And if you're thinking to yourself, what's a conjunction? Pause this video, go back to Canvas, open the other video I posted to get more information about conjunctions, okay? Because if you don't know what a clause is, if you don't know what a conjunction is, you're going to be very confused. So again, I'll just stop, give you a chance to go back if you need to, and go on. Okay, so a compound sentence has 2 or more independent clauses connected by a coordinating conjunction. So the words and, but, or, for, nor, yet, and so are the coordinating conjunctions. You might have seen the acronym FANBOYS to help you remember. If you don't know what fanboys is, don't worry, it's not that important. If you want to know, you can just Google fanboys, Fanboys, fanboys grammar. You'll get a lot of information if you Google that, okay? So in all but the shortest sentences, there's usually a comma before the coordinating conjunction. Then Professor Ferris gives us this example. He ran home, comma, but, coordinating conjunction, but he couldn't find his wallet anywhere. As she says, this example fits the definition. It has two clauses, which means two verbs, ran, find, joined by a coordinating conjunction. In this sentence, but, and each clause could stand alone. It could be its own sentence. You could say, he ran home, period. He couldn't find his wallet anywhere, period. But it makes more interesting and full sentence to combine them, right? To use a conjunction. So instead of he ran home, he couldn't find his wallet, that sounds like a list. We say he ran home, comma, but he couldn't find his wallet anywhere. Right? Coordinating conjunction links two independent clauses, and that is called a compound sentence. Next sentence type is a complex sentence. So a complex sentence includes two or more clauses. Professor Ferris says one of the two clauses in a complex sentence is independent, can stand alone, can be its own sentence. The other clause or clauses are dependent, beginning with a subordinating conjunction. So in the following examples, the independent clause is underlined and the dependent clause is bracketed. Bracketed is in those little lines or parentheses that look like parentheses. So these examples, first we have an independent clause first and then a dependent clause in the sentence, I went to work although I had the flu, right? And although means even though, right? So I went to work although I had the flu. Independent, I went to work, period. Great, that could be a sentence. Although I had the flu can't be its own sentence. Although I had the flu, period. If you say that or write that, a native English speaker or me, I'm going to go, although you had the flu, what? Finish the sentence. You know, that's not a complete idea. That's why it's a dependent clause. Or we can change that order, right? In this first sentence, we have, I went to work, although I had the flu. In the second example, we change the order of the clause, right? We start with dependent, although I had the flu, comma, I went to work. So instead of I went to work, although I had the flu, it's although I had the flu, I went to work. And remember, this is not a lesson about commas, but we will have one of our mechanics lessons this semester will be all about commas. But remember, you can see one rule right here. If you start your complex sentence with a dependent clause, you need a comma, right? So although I had the flu, comma, I went to work. But in this example, see, no comma, right? So again, I'm planting this little seed or planting this idea about some comma rules for when we talk about it with much more detail later this semester. So our last example, where we have independent first, then dependent. In the winter, comma, I always vacation in Arizona because I can't stand the cold weather, right? Because I can't stand the cold weather, that's the dependent clause. It cannot be a sentence by itself. We are connecting it with because. Because is our subordinating conjunction, and we have a complex sentence. So Professor Ferris says, note from these examples that either the independent clause or the dependent clause can come first without changing the meaning of the sentence, but the order does change the punctuation. When the dependent clause precedes, comes before the independent clause, like in the second example, a comma follows the dependent clause. And that's what I was explaining just a moment ago. All right. Our final sentence type, and the most difficult, if I'm honest, right? A complex compound sentence has at least 3 clauses. So, a complex compound sentence includes an independent clause joined to another one with a coordinating conjunction, just like in compound sentences. At least one of these independent clauses is also attached to a dependent clause, just like with complex sentences. So look at some examples. This sounds maybe more difficult than it will look when you see examples. So the independent clauses are underlined here, and the dependent clauses are bracketed. The coordinating conjunctions are bold, and the subordinating conjunctions are italicized leaning. So here's the example. I went to work today. Independent clause. But, coordinating conjunction. I came home early. Independent clause. Because I have the flu. Dependent clause connected with a subordinating conjunction, because, right? I went to work today, but I came home early because I have the flu, right? So seeing all the rules in a sentence like this maybe feels difficult, but this sentence by itself, I went to work today, but I came home early because I have the flu, it's not a very advanced sentence, right? You don't need a lot of really difficult grammar to make this sentence meaning. It's just helpful to see a sort of normal sentence, but understand there's a lot going on, right? There's a lot of things, there's a lot of ideas going on underneath the words in terms of the structure of the sentence. Now we do have a longer sentence, a longer example of a complex compound sentence, right? So, although many students preferred to study in the library, comma, I always liked going to a local coffee house instead, comma, and I could have a triple latte when I got sleepy. And remember, if it's underlined, I always liked going to a local coffee house instead. I could have a triple latte. Independent clauses. Those could be simple sentences by themselves. These other clauses in the brackets, they're dependent, right? They need more support. They need help from the independent clauses. So Professor Ferris continues, if you take a college-level textbook or an academic journal article, so again, especially when you go to 325 here at American River, or you take transfer-level English, and analyze a few of the paragraphs, you will notice many complex compound sentences. And it's true, the more advanced the writing gets, the more advanced the sentence structure gets. Again, note that the order of the clauses can vary, can change. You can move them around. Also, in the second sentence, you can see that the two independent clauses on either side of the coordinating conjunction and are complex. So the structure of sentences influences their internal punctuation. And again, much more about this when we do our comma lesson later in this semester. So some rules to remember. If the sentence has a dependent clause followed by an independent clause, a comma separates the clauses. Also, if the independent clause precedes the dependent clause, there is no punctuation between them, right? And we saw that in the examples above. Finally, with both compound and complex compound sentences, a comma is inserted before the coordinating conjunction. And you'll see more information about this in the coordinating conjunction YouTube video that I posted in this lesson if you want more information. If the clauses are short and closely connected in meaning, the comma may be omitted. That means maybe you can skip it. However, it's never wrong to add the comma. So there are some examples where you can take the comma out, skip the comma, leave the comma, but it's never wrong to include it. Okay? And again, I know that this is a lot of information, so don't worry too much about these commas. We will practice them later this semester. So these are our 4 sentence types: simple, compound, complex, compound-complex. Those are the 4 sentence types in English. So at the end of this, these pages, Professor Ferris has an example called apply, right? And it's an activity. If you bought the workbook and did this at home by yourself, there's apply exercises in the entire book for you to practice the ideas that she's teaching you. But we're going to do something a little bit different than she does in this book. If you want to look at it, you can, right? I posted this in Canvas. But I want to go into Canvas and show you what I'm going to ask you to do for this graded learning activity with all of the material that we just covered in this video. So let's get our Canvas opened up here. Bear with me just a second, everybody. Give you a chance to take a few breaths while we wait for the internet to load. Now's a good time to, if you're still confused about what we just read, what I just talked about, rewind, right? Go back, watch this video again, because all I'm going to show you now is the assignment that I want you to do to practice this activity. So click on our class here, go into modules, and remember this is graded learning activity 6, mechanics, talking about sentence types. So here are the instructions that you saw already. You'll read these pages from Language Power by Dana Ferris. You're going to watch the video that you're watching right now. And here are the instructions for this activity. You're going to copy and paste your writing sample from the student survey that you did in Unit 1. Remember, I already sent you what you wrote as a comment in this assignment, okay? You don't need to write anything new. You're going to use sentences that you already wrote and sent me for the student survey. Then you're going to identify each sentence, your own sentence. You get to look at what you wrote and then think about if that sentence is simple, compound, complex, or complex compound. Okay, so you're going to tell me, identify, show me what type of sentence you already used. And I have an example that I want to show you. So this is not one of our students in this class, but this was from a different writing class, same level, writing 50. And here is an example paragraph that they wrote for a really short summary activity. All right, so it would just copy and paste. So instead of these sentences, you're going to copy and paste what I sent you into the comment for this assignment. So all you need to do is just show me those sentences, right? Make it look like a paragraph. And this paragraph looks like this right now. A placebo is a substance that looks like a medical tablet or medicine. Placebos do not have a real effect on the body. This means, blah, 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 blah. I will also say if you want to make changes, edit, revise, fix some of your sentences that you sent me, please, you can definitely do that, okay? Do that before you do what I'm going to show you right now, which is look at the sentences that you wrote and then ask yourself, is this a simple sentence, a compound sentence, a complex sentence? So let's look at one together. A placebo is a substance that looks like a medical tablet or medicine. Think about this for just a second. What type of sentence do you think this is? Simple, compound, complex, compound, complex. Remember, the rule is subjects and verbs, right? Placebo, noun, subject, is, verb, right? And then we get all this information that just describes or tells us what a placebo is, right? We don't get a new subject, we don't get a new verb, we don't get a lot of other complex information. We just really have one subject and one verb in this sentence, right? So this is a simple sentence. And if you look at the second sentence as well, placebos do not have a real effect on the body. Well, once again, we have placebos, a noun. Have is our verb. Placebos, again, is a noun, and it's our subject for the sentence. Have. And then same thing. In this sentence, we get some information about what a placebo does or does not have, right? Again, don't worry about this too much. This is not a grammar class, but this is an adjective phrase. Again, don't worry about it. If you're a grammar nerd like me, you can Google what is an adjective phrase. Have fun, go crazy, but it doesn't really matter for this, right? What we're practicing is subject and verb, and we're looking for conjunctions. That's what part of this practice is. So this is also a simple sentence. Now we're going to do one more example together, and then I'll show you how I want you to type this in this assignment. So third sentence, this means when the patient takes a placebo, they feel better, and this is called placebo effect. So hopefully, remember, a big part of this lesson is conjunctions. Hopefully you notice right away, and coordinated conjunction, right? So we already know we have a coordinating conjunction, but what else is going on? So when the patient takes, patient takes, so we definitely have subject, verb. They feel better, subject, verb. And this is called the placebo effect, subject, verb. Ooh, okay, so this is definitely more than a simple sentence, right? We have 3 subjects, 3 verbs. You can probably, hopefully, guess where this is going, right? We have when the patient takes a placebo. A question to ask yourself right now. When the patient takes a placebo, is this an independent or a dependent clause? Can it stand alone? When the patient takes a placebo, period. This is a dependent clause, right? And we have a dependent clause at the beginning of a sentence. And just like we talked about for grammar and punctuation, we have a comma. So when the patient takes a placebo, they feel better. They feel better is a clause. Is it dependent or independent? Can it stand alone? They feel better, period. It can, right? It definitely can. So we have a dependent clause here. We have an independent clause here. And this is called the placebo effect. And this is called the placebo effect. This is called the placebo effect. Independent or dependent? Dependent. Or independent? Independent, dependent. This is a dependent, independent clause, forgive me. This is called the placebo effect, period. That could be its own sentence. This is an independent sentence. So we have a dependent clause, an independent clause, and another independent clause. This is a good example of that complex compound sentence, right? So this is hard work. But once you do this, go through at least 5 sentences. And again, if you wrote more than 5, you want to do them all, this is good practice, you guys. This will really help you understand the sentence mechanics and structure in English. But I want at least 5 of them. Again, I'll say one more time, at least 5 sentences. I want you to copy and paste and then tell me what type of sentence they are. So just below, it's going to look like this when you type it in this assignment. Here's your paragraph. Then all you need to do is copy and paste the sentence and then tell me if it's a simple, complex, compound, or complex compound sentence. So sentence number 1, like we talked about, a placebo is a substance that looks like a medical tablet or medicine. Simple sentence. Placebos do not have a real effect on the body. Simple sentence. This means when the patient takes a placebo, they feel better, and this is called the placebo effect. That is a complex, compound sentence, right? So I'm repeating myself. I'm saying the same thing many times, but hopefully I want to make sure the instructions are clear, right? Copy and paste what you submitted for the student survey. Then each sentence, right? Copy and paste each sentence, and next to it, tell me if that sentence is simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, or compound complex sentence. So I want you to do that for at least 5 of your sentences. If you want to do your entire paragraph, that is fantastic, okay? I'm also going to post this example in Canvas so that you can look at how I want this graded learning activity to look when you submit it. So it shows up as a quiz, but all you need to do is type these sentences into the text box and then click submit. You can submit this twice, just like any other graded learning activity. So if you submit it and then you think about it, ooh, no, I made a mistake or something, you can go back and fix it if you like, okay? So that is the graded learning activity for this lesson. Now, I know that's a lot of information, everybody. So again, I really, really encourage you, watch this video more than one time. Watch the YouTube videos about coordinating conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions, and clauses in English. They will really help you understand how English sentence structure is made, how we make sentences in English. All right. So I hope that you enjoyed going deep into English grammar with me. And remember, if you like this kind of stuff, I really encourage you to go to Amazon and buy Language Power. This is the only time we're really going to use these 2 or 3 pages. But if this helped you understand English grammar, this book that Dana wrote, that Dana Ferris, Professor Ferris wrote, is full of these type of activities, and she does a great job explaining them. All right. So that is our lesson for today. Take your time, review this, and I hope have fun if you like grammar. I love grammar, so I hope you like it. And as always, send me an email, send me a text message if you need help or have any questions, all right? Goodbye, everybody, and I will see you for our next lesson.